Good evening, Shanghai China and viewers on Kuaishou app. This is Sven Serrano. I'll be giving an intro to the film Desolation Center, a 80s Los Angeles, California documentary about punk rock industrial music shows in the Mojave Desert in the early 1980s and the general California scene at this time. I was there. I'm a native Californian born in San Diego, California, a la frontera mexicana on the Mexican border in 1958. And in 1978, I was 20 years old. I was going to University of California at San Diego, and part of I've always been kind of fortunate that I've been able to gravitate towards avant-garde culture zones in California and Asia. So at this early stage, I was going to punk rock concerts in San Diego in 1978, listening to bands like the Zeros and the Penetrators as part of our San Diego scene. Punk rock just hit like a tidal wave. There's no other way to describe it. Prior to it, America had gone from psychedelic hippie rock music to disco and power pop, and it seemed to be going off into something ridiculous. And then punk hits like a sledgehammer. I clearly remember my high school friend Mark Phillips getting a 45 single of the Sex Pistols' "Anarchy" in the UK, and just taking it to friends' house and playing it over and over, and like, what do you think of this? No, seriously, no, what do you think of this? No, listen to it once again. What do you think of this? Um, and the other bands were happening. We were also into people like Talking Heads and Diva, and there was just no shortage of this great music coming out. Um, I I was friends with briefly Boyd Rice, who appears in the second desert. I think no, the first Desert show. He's the guy who has the piece of stone broken with a sledgehammer on his stomach with a microphone on it. His name, Boyd Rice Non, is a rather famous nihilist noise musician who's still out there making music at age 64. I tried contacting him before this show. No luck yet. He may still pop up at the last minute. And I briefly did two avant-garde art events with him when we were, well, how shall I put it, influenced by the Dadaists and Surrealists. We did two things. One, he joined me at University of California, where we strung a feral pig fetus on a rope between two buildings that most of the student body walked under, and it had some slogan on it that I can't remember, and it was dripping blood out of nowhere. That got taken down by the authorities, but we got away. And the second was a disruption of a corporate art exhibition at a San Diego gallery where they had paintings from corporate leaders who were kind enough to let them be exhibited at the gallery, and we tried to shout it down the best we could. And then I moved to San Francisco, and during that time it was the 80s. I missed these concerts in the desert. That was part of the LA scene. The LA scene was, well, it was LA. When I lived in San Diego, the attitude towards LA was, why would anyone want to go there? It seemed like a giant mass of intertwined highway smog and getting lost on the freeway. We didn't have apps then, we had maps. But I did go up with my friends to see a Rolling Stones concert at the Fabulous Forum. That was it. I wish I'd been interested in it more. San Francisco had a great scene, however. Bands like the Dead Kennedys, who else? Oh, God. Flipper. I went to the Tool and Die with my good friend Bob Karasik, who I hope is watching. And we only learned about the Desolation Center stuff much later. Um, I also was involved with the Cacophony Society, who is a precursor of Burning Man. So John Law, who appears at the end talking about the origins of Burning Man, I got to meet him in, was it, yeah, 1996, when there was the last Burning Man that had no rules. And by then I'd already moved to Japan, but I'd been involved with the Zone Trips, Zone Trip number 2, which was a Cacophony Society event where we went into another place where everything was different, reenacting a movie by a Soviet director called Andrei Tarkovsky. The premise of this film was that aliens come to Earth, have a picnic, leave their garbage, and fly away, and this garbage changes the laws of physics in that area, so much so that the government has to come in and fence it off. But stalkers go in to try to bring out little objects that, again, have magical physical qualities once you bring them out, and that was the premise of the Zone Trips. I had moved to Japan by 1989, so I missed Zone Trip number 4, which was the first trip to Black Rock Desert and Burning Man. So at this event on Thursday, I'll be talking a little bit like this and answering questions and emceeing the premiere of this very, very important film, which hopefully will have later showings of both in Shanghai and perhaps in Shenzhen and also Beijing. So thank you very much for listening, and good night.